Welcome back to the Hill Update. I'm your host, Dean Allison, Member of Parliament for Niagara West. And joining me on the show today is Karen Vecchio, who's the Member of Parliament for Elgin-MIddlesex-London. Just before break, we were talking about sort of the issue what's going on in BC that maybe, I hope it never comes to Toronto and Ontario. What are some of the suggestions? I mean, you started to talk about we need alternatives. What types of things should we be looking at trying to do for those that are struggling with these addictions?
You know, for me, rehabilitation has to be there. And right now, we know that there's not enough spaces in when working with provinces. We know that there's not enough spaces for public. People try to go through the private systems, which can be very, very unaffordable. But the thing is we know that it might not just be one time. When we're working with addicts, we know it's not just one time. Maybe it is two times. Maybe it is three times. Addiction is a very, very powerful thing. So we need to make sure that we have these types of programs for people in their communities, for families that support the addicts. We need to have wraparounds for these individuals. There's lots of things we can do, lots of peer-to-peer, lots of things, not only in the hospital setting, but things that we can do in our communities to really help support people and getting them back on track. A lot of times when it comes to addictions, what is holding that person in that place? So we need to have appropriate counseling. We know that some is trauma-based, and we know that some trauma comes from using drugs. And so we need to make sure that we have that support for that individual so that they have healthy choices and that they are able to get back on track. So I'm really huge on saying rehabilitation will work, but we just do not have enough of it right now.
And it will cost money, but that's something that's important. All right, let's move on to we that was talked about in the House this week. The other thing that's ongoing is the budget. I want to show you this clip, and
Oh,
then let's talk about the budget.
Years ago, after having doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments, and doubled the needed down payment for a home, the Prime Minister promised in his budget that he would double home building. Here we are, 2 years later, and home building is down 8%. His housing agency says it will be down next year and the year after that. If it cost him $89 billion in programs to bring home building down, how much would he have to spend to bring it up?
All right, Karen. So what are you seeing in your community? I mean, it's the government spent lots of money. We see the clip there, $89 billion in various home building programs, but we don't see, even though we have a commitment to double housing, that home building is actually decreasing. What are you seeing in your riding?
well, something, it is really, really difficult because we know we need the homes. The builders are ready to build homes. The problem is consumers cannot afford those homes. So whether they're trying to get into the starting market, I know in our area, it's a seller's market for if it's under $600,000. If it's more than that, it becomes unaffordable for many people. And just yesterday, we heard the Bank of Canada come out and say that interest rates will not be able to be lowered. This just causes more issues for people who are trying to get into the housing market or trying to renew their mortgage. So because of bad spending policies, we're seeing these extraordinary interest rates. And so when you don't have a consumer, you don't have the builder to build a home for that consumer. I look at my riding, we have to look at the cost of land as being one of the issues that we're dealing with. We have to look at the labor, the lack of labor, because when they're going to go wherever they can find a job. So do we have the skills trades? And I know that at the provincial level, they're trying to really bump that up, beef that up so that we have trades to get these houses built. But at the end of the day, I see a lot of single family homes being built. And we're going to have to look at more of a mixed because of that cost, because of that affordability issue. Canadian families I have my own members of family who've been renting for 10 years who cannot afford a down payment. And so with interest rates, with all of these things happening, I just do not know when there's going to be hope under this government for people to say, yes, I can buy a home.
So we just got about a minute left in the segment. What about when it comes to red tape and building homes? One of the things we said we'll reward cities that are able to get homes built. Do you sense that some of the red tape is also causing that problem?
I think there's some red tape issues, but I also think that there's lots of issues when it comes to infrastructure. We have not invested under this government, there has been zero infrastructure when it comes to investments in our communities. So we have communities that are working over capacity when it comes to their water and sewage systems. And so if there were proper investments made in the last 9 years, we could maybe start building homes. But what I'm finding in some of my communities is we don't have that clean water or those sewer or wastewater or stormwater in our communities to be able to help with that. So there are many, many barriers to building homes, a lot under because of the spending of this government.
No, it makes sense too. It sounds like Pierre Poilievre government's going to have to get all levels of government working together to try and make this happen. As you mentioned, there's many issues.
For sure.
Okay, when we come back, you did talk about deficits and interest rates a little bit. I do want to commit the next segment to talking a bit about what you see happening there when we come back from break.